understanding our world.
He's been asleep all night on that haystack, asleep out here in the cold, and his warm bed standing empty. Jack, wake up. It's morning. Jack! Oh, well, sleepyhead. I wonder if there's any water for Blossom. Empty again, that poor cow. I'll draw the water myself. I don't know what I'm going to do about Jack. I told him 3 times last night to give Blossom fresh water. He's such a good boy, but all he wants to do is run in the woods and talk to the animals and play his silly little games. Blossom! Here, Blossom. Where are you? My poor faithful beast. I know you're hungry, but drink some clear, cool water.
The University of Michigan Television Center invites you once more to view the world through children's eyes with your host, University Elementary School storyteller, Mary Anne Stevenson. Today's program, Puppets and Puppeteers. Mrs. Stevenson's special guests are the Bixby Marionettes of Saline, Michigan. Here now is Mrs. Stevenson.
Hello. I would like for you to meet a friend of mine. As you might have guessed, our program today is about puppets and puppeteers. Did you know that puppets are as old as civilization itself? Did you know that the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans had puppets and puppet theaters? Did you know the word puppet comes from an Italian word pupa, which means doll? There are all kinds of puppets. This is a hand puppet, and standing beside me is a rod puppet. And holding this puppet is Mr. Meredith Bixby, producer of the Bixby Marionettes of Saline, Michigan. Mr. Bixby, tell me about this puppet.
Well, he's a rod puppet, Mary Ann. There are many kinds of puppets. These rod puppets are often used for rather serious, dramatic plays. They can make rather impressive gestures. That's a hand puppet you have in your hand. They have many uses. They're wonderful for children to use. The child feels that he's a part of the puppet, since the puppet's an extension of his hand. The kind that we use are marionettes. Marionettes are a puppet that are worked by strings from above. This is the skeleton of a marionette, carefully carved out of wood to simulate real human body action. The knees bend and stop at the proper place, and the torso twists and bends, but not too far to be grotesque.
It's almost an X-ray then, isn't it?
It almost is. Would you like to see some of our marionettes actually moving and working with strings?
Yes, I would.
Well, let's go over here. Remember when we left Jack, we saw when the program opened, we saw the beginning of Jack and the Beanstalk, and Jack takes the cow to the fair to sell her. They're very poor. And this is the fair scene. There's Jack waiting with his cow, and they've arrived on the scene here, and there's a little show going on. We wanted it to be gay, so we designed this little puppet booth with little puppets that do a little act to lively music. And then there's a clown who dances and juggles. Can you toss that ball up and catch it a little bit? Let's see what you can do. Can you catch it on your foot? Fine. How about your nose? Whoops, pretty good. And this is Oscar the seal. Oscar can do a number of things too, Mary Ann. He's a big favorite with the children. He dances and twirls that ball. Can we do a little? Would you
I'd
like
love to see him dance.
Oscar? Now, would you like to go backstage?
I would love to see how things work backstage.
All right, let's go back there, see what it looks like.
And here, waiting for us, are all the puppet characters ready to go on stage.
Marianne, I'd like you to meet the men who pull the strings and make these puppets move. This is Jerry Sherrill, Marianne, and Charles Drake.
How you do, Marianne?
Hello there. I was fascinated by the movement out front, but the clown especially intrigued me. How do you make him toss these little white balls up into the air?
Well, I worked this clown, and it's not too difficult, really. All the strings go through the center of the ball, in which is a hole, and all you have to do is grab the string you want to the nose, which I almost missed, and to the foot, and that lands right there.
You pull the taut one, and that's the one the ball goes down.
That's right.
But back here, he seemed so small. Out front, he seemed almost life-size.
You know, this is one of the children often mention this, too. They ask why they look so large. That's because our props are in proportion with the marionette, and when the children are sitting in the darkened auditorium, they're not aware of their neighbor, and all their attention is directed to the stage, and they lose the sense of a real proportion, and they come to our proportion. Of course, this is heightened by our lights and our backdrops.
They look like there's a million strings there, but I know there aren't. How many strings actually are there?
Well, actually, there are only 9 strings. Let me show you the different strings with Jack here. Right over here.
Oh, Jack.
He has 2 strings that go to his head and 2 strings that go to his shoulders. They give him the head movement like this. And then he has the back string, which supports most of the weight of the marionette, enables him to bow, move his head. And then there are 2 strings in the front, which operate the hands. This one and this one.
Can he shake hands with me?
He sure can. Hello, Marianne.
Hello, Jack.
And there are 2 strings that are tied to his knees that move his feet, enable him to walk.
Set him off to the fair.
That's right.
I know that you said that there are only 9 strings there, but even 9 strings surely get tangled sometime.
Well, they sure do, but we just have to go on with the show, and usually the tangles that we get are the same ones over and over again, and we become accustomed to undoing them, so we can do it rather rapidly.
And you can do it right in the middle of the show,
Yes.
even though they're tangled.
We cover up in the best way possible.
Then it takes a lot of practice to do this sort of thing.
Well, it takes a little bit of practice.
To watch him out there moving about, he looks very easy, and as Mr. Bixby said, they have human movements almost. But watching him there, and then I know that you're up there moving him with the strings and sticks and everything, I wonder if through the magic of the television camera, we could get an idea of what it looks like to see him moving about, or say our clown, because I like this clown. Perhaps he could do a dance for us, and then we could get a picture of one of you up there operating him and making him move. Do you think we could do that?
Sure.
Let's try it then.
Okay, fine.
Jerry, get the clown off there.
Just pull him on the back. No, out of the way.